Billahi ta'ala, barakallahu fikum. Let's continue going through the book of fasting in the sweetness of fiqh, which is a compilation of explanations of the text of Abu Shuja' translated. And this is all review now. We covered this here, and I just want to cover the footnotes with you so we can catch all the details we have here. So we're going to talk about the abstention. Well, we're going to talk about the sunnahs to do in this abstention. And this is actually what this chapter is lacking. Subhanallah. A chapter for sunnahs of fasting. A chapter with a title. We have here the four integrals of fasting. That's the title there. So this paragraph, this is just introduction. Then we have here this title. The integrals of fasting. Then we have four integrals. The sa'im, and the niyyah, the intention, the daytime, and the abstention itself. These are all daytimes here. Then the abstention itself. Then the invalidators of fasting. Then how to break the fast. So like right around here, we could put chapter 4 sunnahs of fasting. And then how to break the fast. And then make up fast. And then the redemption payment. And then the expiation. And there's not a chapter for sunnah, the sunnah of fasting, or sunnahs, or some of them. So that should be rectified here. And that information is crammed into this paragraph here under the abstention. So let's see what we have as it stands. So the abstention itself is the integral of the fast, abstaining from any fast breaker, a mufattir. Okay, and then the continuation of this sentence is in the actual chapter of fast invalidators, the mufattirs. That is the abstention, refraining from those things. So then what remains here, all of this really deserves its own heading, because it's for sunnah of fasting. What do we have here? It says, by consensus, it is recommended to delay the pre-dawn meal. That's not the abstention itself. It's a recommendation for the abstention. The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith narrated by the two sheikhs, تَسَحَّرُوا فَإِنَّ فِي السَّحُورِ بَرَكَةً. Okay. So in the hadith narrated by the two sheikhs, that's Al-Bukhari and Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ said, تَسَحَّرُوا فَإِنَّ فِي السَّحُورِ بَرَكَةً. Have the sahur meal. Eat sahur or do sahur. Surely in the sahur there is a blessing. That's going to be, even if it's just a gulp of water, just a bite of a morsel and swallowed it. It's recommended, as proven by this hadith, to have a pre-dawn meal and to delay it. To delay the pre-dawn meal. Here's a footnote. It is also narrated in the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يزال الناس بخير ما عجلوا الفطر وأخروا السحور or السحور. So it has a dhamma here. Okay. وأخروا السحور. There's two different things. Sahur and suhur. So the suhur is the act, and the sahur is the meal. لا يزال الناس بخير ما عجلوا الفطر وأخروا السحور. The people will be in a good situation. They will stay in a good situation as long as they rush to break the fast and delay the meal before dawn. As long as they rush to break the fast and delay the meal before dawn. Here's a question for you. I asked before. And then I might have another question for you. When is it sunnah for one to rush to break the fast, like it's mentioned in this hadith? When is it sunnah to rush to break the fast? 5, 4, 3. When one knows Maghrib is in. Okay. Correct answer. Most important word in this answer, you said as soon as the sun set. This other answer is better answer though. The first one. Most important word in this answer is no. When one knows Maghrib is in. No here means 100%. No here doesn't mean merely confident that Maghrib is in. So when one knows Maghrib is in, that the sun has set, then it's sunnah for him to rush to break the fast. And if one is merely confident, this would be the second question. If one is merely confident that Maghrib is in, then it's not sunnah to rush to break the fast. Not sunnah to rush. Okay. Imam Ahmad narrated that in his Musnad. So it is recommended to delay the pre-dawn meal, which is a sunnah of the prophets. Yani, SaHoor is a sunnah of the prophets. Here's footnote. Also in a hadith of Ibn Hibban, it is narrated. أمرنا معاشر الأنبياء بتعجيل الفطور وتأخير السحور. No, this one has fatha. السحور. Subhanallah. So we'll check all of these. بإذن ta'ala. Suhoor, sahur, in these different hadiths. Make sure that they're all right. أمرنا معاشر الأنبياء بتعجيل الفطور وتأخير السحور وبأن نضرب بأيماننا على شمائلنا في الصلاة. We, the prophets, have been ordered with rushing to break the fast, delaying the suhoor, and putting our right hands over our left hands in the prayer. So then, suhoor is a sunnah of the prophets, not just Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So it's recommended to delay the pre-dawn meal, which is a sunnah of the prophets. For fasting, yani, that's why you're going to delay it. Its time starts at midnight, as mentioned by Al-Rafi'i at the end of the chapter of Iman. It is recommended to be before dawn by a time it takes to recite 50 verses, unless that's too close for comfort. And its time ends at dawn. The minimum of suhoor is eating or drinking even a little, as said by An-Nawawi in the explanation of Al-Muhadhab. Footnote. In Sahih Ibn Hibban, it is narrated, تَسَحَّرُوا وَلَوْ بِجُرْعَةٍ مِّن مَّاءٍ. Eat suhoor, yani sahur. This one is going to be eat. Eat sahur even if by a sip of water, or take sahur even if by a sip of water, a mere sip of water, or jur'a, gulp, a gulp of water. I think that's a gulp of water there. Okay, so you got hadith there. And also you got some names here, as said by An-Nawawi in the explanation of Al-Muhadhab. Now, some of these, when we say this, like as mentioned by Al-Rafi'i at the end of the chapter of Iman, some of these statements, they go over the heads of some of you. That depends on your level of knowledge and depends on some things you might be interested in as far as some references. One should also honor his abstention by leaving out ugly talk. It is already obligatory to refrain from insulting a Muslim or harming him with speech, and protecting the tongue from gossip, tale-bearing, and lying, and the like. All of that is already obligatory. but even more emphatically avoid it while fasting. Footnote: in Sahih al-Bukhari, it is narrated, من لم يدع قول الزور والعمل به والعمل به فليس لله حاجة في أن يدع طعامه وشرابه. Anyone who does not abandon lying and working according to it and practicing it, anyone who does not abandon lying and practicing that, working according to a lie, then Allah has no need to leave for him his food and his drink. فليس لله حاجة في أن يدع طعامه وشرابه. Some brothers and sisters, they found some words like this problematic. Because sometimes a person will see a statement like this and he finds that it implies that Allah has a need, but shouldn't feel like that, because literally says has no need, has no need. Then Allah has no need to leave food for him or drink for him. Allah doesn't have a need to do it anyway, but it's true that Allah doesn't have a need for him. Whoever does not abandon lying and practicing that, then it is true that Allah has no need to leave food for him or drink for him. Uh, but doesn't mean that if he does abandon lying and practicing that, then Allah does need to leave food and drink for him. So maybe that's what someone feels like that implies, but it doesn't. Rather, this has in it the dispraise of the one who does that, and this has in it the emphasis of avoiding something that should be avoided anyway, but during fasting more so. As for the hadith, خمس يفطرن الصائم: الغيبة والنميمة والكذب والقبلة واليمين الفاجرة. Five things break the fasting person's fast. Break the fasting person's fast. Gossip, tale-bearing, lying, kissing, and swearing to a lie. It is not authentic. That's why we don't have it bold here, because we're not regarding it as a real hadith. These matters do not invalidate the fast. None of these do. Because they are not forbidden due to the fasting. They're not forbidden due to fasting. It's not the fasting that makes these things forbidden so that they would be invalidators of the fast. Their prohibition is detached from the fasting, so they don't invalidate the fast. Like eating and drinking, this would be forbidden because you're fasting, so it's going to break your fast. However, if one does not protect himself from falling into gossip or tale-bearing or harming the Muslims, he will gain nothing from his fasting but hunger and thirst. I'm going to remind myself and you, and any one of you who's a friend of mine, be mindful, let us all be mindful not to talk about the Muslim in the haram way. So easy, so easy. It's going to come right out your mouth. You're not going to think twice. So think twice. So if one does not protect himself from the gossip, the tale-bearing, and the harming of Muslims, he will gain nothing from his fasting but hunger and thirst. This means that he lost the reward of his fast. This is because of the hadith that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, رب صائم ليس له من صيامه إلا الجوع ورب قائم ليس له من قيامه إلا السهر. How many a fasting person there is who has nothing from his fasting but hunger, and how many a fasting, and how many a standing person there is. How many a person standing to pray there is. How many there is who has nothing from his standing but staying up late. So that's the hadith there. I want to bold it. Bismillah. This is narrated by Al-Hakim and Al-Nasa'i. Al-Hakim said that this hadith fulfills the conditions of Al-Bukhari. MashaAllah.
Is that staying late or tiresome? Somebody
Sahar is staying up late.
The hadith, one is hunger. Somebody who's not fasting
is
properly.
hunger.
Yeah, properly. But the one who is not praying well,
Sahar.
Is that tiresome or what?
That's staying up. That means not going to sleep at night.
Okay. Barakallahu fikum. Because in one case, I heard somewhere, I don't know. Okay. Barakallahu. Got it.
Ameen wa fikum. So it was narrated by the two sheikhs. فإذا أصبح أحدكم صائما فلا يرفث ولا يجهل فإن امرؤ شاتمه أو قاتله فليقل إني صائم إني صائم. If any of you are fasting, then let him not commit any obscenity or ignorance. And if someone insults him or fights him, let him say, I am abstaining, yani sa'im. I am fasting. One says it twice or thrice. Came twice in the hadith here. Because this is more likely to make the transgressor stop. He would either say it with his tongue, like An-Nawawi said in Al-Adhkar, to literally say, I'm fasting, with the intention of admonishing the other and deterring him with that which is better. Or one says it in his heart merely, as copied by Al-Rafi'i from the Imams. Yani Al-Rafi'i logged about the Imams that one says in his heart, I'm fasting, and he didn't comment.